Hey, this is Jim with Evolution POWERSPORTS. The rest of the crew is here too. We're at the Full Throttle Saloon in Sturgis, South Dakota. We're also here with our new 2020 Can-Am X3 RR, and we're going to go through the whole machine, but right now we're going to talk about the changes that they made to the clutching on this new machine. First of all, you can see the Helix Angle is now it is a 4852, which is substantially steeper than the previous generation X3s. And you can see that if you come over here to the table, this is the 17 through 19 weights. This is actually the Ebp weights that we've been selling for 2 years, and this is the 2020 RR weights. You can see that they're almost identical. We have more arc in ours for more shift, but if we look at the gram scale, you can see the changes that they made. So the original 17 through 19 weights were 60 grams. The 2020 is 52.5 grams. And you can see the Ebp weights are 53.6. So they're almost identical. And the reason they did this was to make the machine more responsive. The heavy weights that they had in the previous generation kind of made it come up on RPM slow. So now with lighter weights and a steeper Helix angle, the car definitely feels more responsive when you stab it. But these are some positive changes. Also, it runs the same belt as the 1819. It's the 652 belt. We're obviously going to put the world's best belt on it, but that is still the same. Also, the clutch cover now has some sound deadening material. This should make the clutches a lot quieter. You can see the outer design has changed as well. The reason we're talking about clutching so much is that we are launching our own line of Helix Angle springs and other really cool features that I can't talk about right now clutching wise, but that's coming this fall. But we've already demonstrated how effective the clutching is. The car that we ran in the drag race out of Coos Bay, Oregon, it was a normal Stage 3R car. That car won that class and was only 2/10 slower than the Duna Extreme class, so the clutching is very effective. Also, Kyle Cheney and Josh Martell just won a Midwest Series race last weekend running Ebp clutching. So it's proven, it's coming like a freight train to the market, and we can't wait to talk more about it. Another cool feature of the 2020s is they've upgraded the map sensors now to 3-bar, which means that we can run 28 pounds of boost without changing map sensors. We've incorporated those on our Stage 6 since 2017, but it's a great deal because now that'll be a couple less components that'll need to be upgraded for big turbo upgrades. Also, as you can see, the intercooler on the 2020 RR is substantially larger than the previous years. It's now 12 inches wide by about 10.5 inches deep. The previous gen was 10 by 10. You measure from here to here. The fan also appears to be a 10-inch fan, and the core is slightly thicker than the previous generation. And we've already seen how much more effective the new intercooler is. When we ran it on the dyno last night, the highest the intake temperatures got was 135 degrees Fahrenheit, and the dyno room was almost 100 degrees. So that's a very substantial decrease in air intake temperature versus a previous generation one, especially at the boost pressure that it runs. The new 2020 runs 18.5 to 19 pounds of boost stock, and that's a lot of boost, so that's why they increased the intercooler size. Along with the larger intercooler, they have enlarged the inlet and outlet of the end tanks of the intercooler, which necessitated slightly larger charge tubes. So you can see up here that the charge tubes are bigger than the earlier models. Besides that, the plenum appears to be the same. If you come over to the other side here, you can They upgraded the clamps on the throttle body, which was a chronic problem of having the throttle body pop off at higher boost pressures, both above and below. So now they put 2 clamps on the top and a constant tension clamp on the bottom, which should help a great deal with those issues. We already discussed the turbocharger at length, but you know, the 2020 model is substantially upgraded from the earlier models. You can see the air inlet is very similar to our V-Flow intake. They enlarged the outlet diameter of the airbox to allow more flow to the turbo. Wastegate's different, exhaust manifold's different, and panning around here to the dash, this is actually a really cool new feature. The dash is pretty amazing. All of the functions of the dash are now available on the dashboard versus before with buttons up on the top.